Technology could be used to shorten the work week, to help us live more fulfilling and more productive lives. If advances in technology are only going to make billionaires richer while everything gets worse for the working class, then we have failed.
Frankly, I had a really hard time clipping this one because there was just so much that was good, so much that was really good in it. We're going to go a little bit long, maybe 10, 15 more minutes, but I really wanted to share this with you because it is so good. And I really recommend folks just check it out. Go and watch the video. Go on the YouTube, UAW's YouTube page and watch their most recent town hall. It was so good. There's so much in there. The headline is... The real big headline is Shawn Fain previewing some of their demands for the Big Three 2028 contract negotiations. Let's play clip 11.
I remember during the Big Three stand-up strike, the corporate media said we were going to wreck the economy. And I remember telling them, we're not going to wreck the economy, we're going to wreck their economy. The economy that works for the benefit of the few at the expense of the many. An economy that leaves workers without living wages, without adequate health care, without retirement security, and without time for our family and our friends. Take a look at this slide. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the billionaire economy. As you can see, between 2015 and 2025, the Big Three made over $200 billion in profits. And you know what they did with those profits? They showered them on the rich shareholders and the corporate executives. Over that same last decade, the Big Three have used $110 billion of those profits for stock buybacks and dividends. Who does that benefit? And why do we accept this as a society? And let's be clear about this. It isn't just the Big Three. It's the same story at General Electric, at Lockheed Martin, Caterpillar, John Deere, Daimler Truck, Case New Holland, Cleveland Cliffs, Dana, Lear. In fact, our union represents workers at 26 publicly traded companies across 5 sectors. And since 2015, UAW members at those companies have produced $566 billion in profits. And those same 26 companies have distributed $530 billion in stock buybacks and dividends. That's over $500 billion. That's how much it costs to build our country's entire interstate highway system in today's dollars. And remember, 93% of all shares are owned by the top 10% of the wealthiest families in the United States. The majority of Americans have no investments or very few investments in the stock market. UAW members at these 26 companies, which represent auto, ag imp, aerospace, defense, and IPS, produced $566 billion in profits, and 94% of those profits, 94% of those profits were used for stock buybacks and dividends so the rich can get richer. That is outrageous. That is the economy we need to break. And we have a plan to break it, and that plan is May Day 2028. And let me be crystal clear on this. On May Day 2028, the UAW will not settle for anything less than retiree health care and a real pension.
There we go. That's a pretty big thing to lay down, and so we'll obviously keep an eye on that. But that'll be a big, big demand: retiree health care and a real pension for all Big Three workers at the UAW. He did speak on some broader topics, obviously. Here he talked about what he sees as the defining moment of our generation, generally speaking. Let's play clip 12.
I want to start with one image, one that I believe is the most important chart in America in 2025. It's a simple chart, but it tells the whole story about everything that's wrong with our country and our economy. On one line, you'll see productivity. Since 1948, American workers have been producing more and more value. Our productivity is through the roof. An average full-time worker today is creating 250% more value for their employers than a worker did in 1948. We work harder, we work smarter, and we generate more wealth than any generation of workers in U.S. history. On another line, you see wages. And for a while, wages kept up with productivity. Unions had the power to make sure that when workers produced more, they also got paid more. And that's how it should be. That's how a fair economy should work. But starting around 1980, that line broke. Productivity kept climbing and wages flatlined. And on the third line, as you can see, as productivity climbed and wages flatlined, union membership began to crash. 1 in 3 workers belonged to a union in the late 1950s. Today, only about 1 in 10 workers are in a union. When corporations went on the attack, union membership went down and wages went down with it. But that productivity line kept going up. So where did all those productivity gains, all that value that we created with our hands and our minds, where did it go? The working class didn't see rising productivity get rewarded with more money in our pockets. Instead, those profits went to the top, to the billionaire class, to the people who never stepped foot on a factory floor but think they own everything that we build. We live in a country where the richest 1% of humanity now owns more wealth than the bottom 95% of the world's population combined. Where the wealthiest 10% of Americans own 93% of all stocks. And where the average retirement savings for the bottom half of Americans is zero. Zero. That's why this fight, our fight for retirement security, is so critical. That's why the battles we've waged over the last 2 years matter so much. And that's why May Day 2028 will be the defining moment of our generation.
I agree. So really looking forward to seeing what happens in 2028. The last clip that I wanted to share with you from the town hall, and again, I really recommend, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you're going to want to watch the whole thing. But he talked a little bit about how the UAW under his leadership is thinking about engaging in politics and like what it means to engage in politics as a union, why you do it, and what some of those, what that would look like to, what it looks like to do that. So let's play clip 13.
The billionaire class is on one side, the working class is on the other. And the fight ahead is about who will control the wealth that we create and the society that we live in. And make no mistake, the billionaire class is not going to give up power willingly. They are on an endless pursuit of profit, no matter the cost. They will try to divide us with tiers. They'll try to divide us by race, by gender, by who we love, by who we worship, by what language we speak, or what bathroom we use. Anything to keep us from uniting in a common cause as a working class. And when that's not enough, they'll use their power in government to lock in an undemocratic system that keeps working people on the sidelines. But where corporations seek to produce profit, our movements must produce leaders. Not just in the shop, not just in a union hall, but in society. That's why our fight is bigger than wages. It's bigger than benefits. It's about power. Who has it, who doesn't, and what we're going to do to change it. So what's that mean in practice? It means we have to continue to organize the unorganized. Millions of workers wanted to join a union, and we have to bring them into our movement. It means we must rebuild our own union strength from the shop floor up. Every work site needs strong leaders who can stand up to the company at a moment's notice, whether it's to enforce the contract or win a better one. It means we have to rebuild our power to strike. It means we must revive the strike, not just as a weapon to win better contracts, but as a school for class struggle. When workers strike, we learn how much power we really have. Some of our members want us to stop being political. But if we're going to win things as big as pensions or post-retirement health care, we can't ignore politics. The answer is not to become an appendage of one political party, but to build an independent working class force. Our politics as a union should be rooted in bold, ambitious demands. Our four core things: wages, health care, retirement security, controlling our time. And we should hold every politician accountable to those things. And it means we have to elect more of our own. Not millionaires who've never worried about paying a bill, not corporate stooges. We need to elect working class people who know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. And it means we have to deepen our ties into our communities. Because our fight is not just in the shop. It's in the neighborhoods we live in, the schools our kids attend, the hospitals we depend on, and the planet that we all share. That's the work ahead of us. That's the road to May Day 2028. When I ran for this office, I said we need to put humanity first. And I said we need to get back to the basics, back to the issues that matter most to working people having a dignified life. So the question for us is, what unites us as a working class? In my walk, I've found that there's four core issues that every working class person agrees on and is ready to stand up for, from the workplace to the ballot box. And those four core issues are simple: wages, health care, retirement, and time. The first one of those is wages. And the point of that is this: no matter what work you do, no matter what job you have, no matter where it is, you should earn enough to live a decent quality of life, a wage that lets you pay the bills, support a family, and have dignity. And the second thing of those four things is health care. We live in the richest nation in the history of the world, yet we rank dead last among rich industrial nations when it comes to meeting the health needs of our people. Health care should not be tied to whether your boss is feeling generous. In the richest country in the history of the world, no one should have to choose between seeing a doctor and feeding their family. No one should have to go into debt to pay their medical bills. Our healthcare system robs workers of dignity and weakens our power at the bargaining table. Healthcare should be a human right for every worker. The third thing is retirement security. Our country right now is in a retirement insecurity crisis. Last year alone, we hit what we call peak 65. More Americans turned age 65 this year than at any time in our nation's history. And the bottom 50% of Americans have no retirement savings. That is a crisis. After a lifetime of work, you shouldn't have to retire into poverty. You shouldn't have to retire into fear. You should retire with dignity, with health care, and with a pension that allows you to live. And the last of these four things is our time, getting our time back. You know, our time is our most valuable commodity on earth. Our lives aren't meant to be consumed by work. And as we talk, technology is advancing faster than ever. You know, Walter Reuther once had a famous saying talking about technology: we must master technology, not let it master us. Technology could be used to shorten the work week, to guarantee jobs for everyone, to help us live more fulfilling lives and more productive lives. If advances in technology are only going to make billionaires richer while everything gets worse for the working class, then we have failed. That's why we have to fight for shorter work weeks, for the same or more pay, for more time with our families, for balance in our lives, for contract language we can enforce that protects our bodies, our families, our lives off the job. So wages, health care, retirement, security, and time, those are the foundation of living a dignified life. And it matters to every working class person, union or not.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
One of the best communicators on class politics, I think, of our era. Really fantastic. And like I said, I mean, obviously, I played a lot of that town. Played a lot of that town hall, like 30% of it. And I could have played more very easily. So, check it out. If you haven't seen the whole thing. Adam, I don't know if you had any reflections on any of the stuff that he talked about.
Well, something I really appreciated was just laying out the big picture and laying out how we as a working class have been getting our ass kicked for decades now. And the decline of union power is absolutely that's it. We are weaker as a labor movement. And as a result, the rich get richer and things keep getting worse for us as working people. And so that is a crisis that we have to address. And I appreciated that he also emphasized the need for leadership and for folks to step up from the workplace into the community to the ballot box and beyond. I mean, it's going to take a lot of everyday people stepping up. It's going to take mass engagement. Unions were strong. We were at a time where we had 1 in 3 U.S. workers, 1 in 4 Alabama workers. But that took a lot of people power. That took a lot of mass engagement. It took a lot of everyday people stepping up and getting involved in their own way, whatever that looked like. Everyone's different. Everyone has different talents and skills to contribute. But we need more people doing the work. Those of us who are doing the work, we've got to find more folks to help us. We've got to do a better job of that, of recruiting new leaders, of building up young leaders, getting more people engaged. The polls are overwhelming that the vast majority of workers are with us, right? We've got to give them the tools and we've got to develop them as leaders to step out, to organize. And we in labor have to step out of our silos and make sure that we are organizing with community and in our communities, and we are building power collectively across the working class and not it's easy to get wrapped up in our own contracts and our own struggles and lose sight of that big picture that we as working people are falling behind. We keep falling behind. And the way things are going in this country and in this world is getting worse and worse and worse between the destruction of our planet, the inequality of wealth, just the entire state apparatus being directed against us as working people. So, the solution is organizing, and the solution is massive people power, getting folks engaged in a way we haven't seen in generations, since, the 60s and 70s, since the 30s, since we saw those mass waves of organizing. And, were there limits to that success? Absolutely. Obviously they didn't solve all the problems back then, or we wouldn't be here where we're at today. But there was tremendous gains that were made by everyday rank and file working people, who were willing to take risk, who were willing to trust each other, build relationships, and build collective action, and build collective power by doing that. So, yeah, I appreciate those words, and I think the 4 pillars of dignity that they described is something that can easily resonate with a lot of folks. Time is definitely something that we hear about a lot. There are so many workers who are dealing with forced overtime, so many workers working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, so many workers without paid leave of any kind. We talk a lot in the South and in Alabama about family values, and damn near every politician in office, will brag about their family values and how pro-family they are. And yet their own constituents can't even spend time with their families, hardly see their families because they're working, 55, 60, 70 hours a week. It's crazy, The politicians and the business owners, they'll be watching football this weekend, right? They'll be at home with their families, eating good food, watching the game. But a whole lot of the workers will not be. They'll be at work against their own wishes. And folks shouldn't have to work that much of their life just to make ends meet. And it's time that we reclaim our time as workers and as human beings, frankly. We came close to a 30-hour work week back in the 30s, and I'm glad to see conversations reviving around that because, those are the sort of ideas we need to be talking about, and I think that will resonate with working people. And the last thing I'll say is we absolutely do need more working class folks stepping up and running for office. There's debates about electoralism and how effective it is and all that. But as long as we have these offices, I would much prefer working class people be contesting for them, because it's disappointing when you look around and you recognize that everyone who represents you, quote unquote, in power in the state is of another class. We're the majority. Working class people, we are the majority. But you wouldn't know that from looking at our representation. And at the very least, we deserve more representation. And I think that's really a good starting point. Is at the very least, we deserve what we're owed, which is equal representation. And if we're the freaking majority, it's time for our society to start to look like that.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.